Hey, yo, it's Ty Rich from Bite the Podcast. I'm with my man Brad from Gold Country Bullycamp 530. What's up, Brad?
Man, over here doing what I can do.
Uh,
You already know.
I already know. Hey, I'm glad that you came on the platform. I really appreciate that. Know you're a busy man.
Man, Kobe keep me on my toes for sure. Like I said, now I got
Um,
Tony going and he catching traction. He had 2 breedings this week, got another one coming up, and just getting back to everybody. So that way, I try to hit everybody back and be as reachable as possible. That way, a lot of people are handling business, and they want you to just be on point as much as they are. That way, they can make their plans and get their breedings and shit done on a timely manner.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, I got a couple of questions for you. I'm gonna just go ahead and jump right into this thing. Can you tell us? Can you tell us about your journey with this bully breeding stuff and how you got into the business?
I first got in. I had a friend out in Vallejo, California. They call him Dog Man D. His name's Dave. And then another one of my friends, Man, and they had a couple bullies named Mighty Mouse and Kryptonite. And I don't really remember their bloodlines, but I just know that when I would go over there, man, they were just some amazing specimens. And so I started asking them about how to get a bully. So they knew I wanted to get in the game, and this was probably, man, this had to be 10 years ago. And so I go out to their spot. My girl go out there. We'd always check their dogs out. So they hit me up, and they had done a litter with Bullmaster. And Bullmaster's like, way back. I think that's one of the first dogs that sold for, a high price. I think he sold for like 40,000 out in New York to somebody. And so they gave me this little bitty female, and I really wasn't up on the littler dogs back then. I wanted the big old bully dog. So I go out to
All right.
I go out to football practice and take my little dog. She's this little female, and everybody to have their bully ass dogs, and they'd be like, "Man, where's she off of?" And I used to mess with them. I'd be like, "Man, why'd y'all give me this dog? This dog don't look nothing like everybody's dog." And they're like, "Nah, man, that's the one." And so then I ended up something happened, man. My neighbor, she got the little dog got out in the rain, and my neighbor jacked her ass, and her brother was a cop. So man, I had it kind of on video. I didn't have her taking the dog, but I had the dog going to her house, and so I ended up going and buying another one through the same guys off of a dog called Stomper. He was out of Bay Bullies, out of the Bay Area, out by Frisco. I think the guy was in Vacaville. And so then my buddy hit me up one day and said, "Hey, I got a lock in for third pick female off of Miyagi daughter, or no, off of Dak's daughter to Miyagi from X Dak Bullies from Kong." And back then his partner was Fong, his cousin. And so we went out there, and they had bred Black Athena, which turned out to be Blackjack and Fearless. I don't know if everybody knows them two dogs, but they both went to China for 6 figures a long time ago. And I got their litter mate. And so I'm from Pitbull and Rottweiler days. When I was younger, I had pits and stuff. So we went over and looked at the dogs, and like I wasn't up on the freakier ones, so I liked the one with the big old head. They had this black female with a big head, and so I dropped the deposit, and my boy was like going to pay the rest. So then Kong ended up keeping a bunch of like 5 dogs out the 12 dog litter. He wanted to keep like 5. So then all of a sudden we were bumped to like 8th pick. It wasn't even 3rd pick no more. And I dropped the deposit, and my boy was like, "Tell you the truth, Brad." He goes, "Man, I really don't even like none of them dogs." He goes, "If you want to go ahead and pay the other $3,000 and just take that one you liked, then go ahead." So I'm thinking, man, I won. I got a Miyagi daughter. I ain't got no partner. I'm gonna go over and snatch this dog up. So I picked her up, and I took her back to the house, and man, I spent like probably 6 months trying to figure out how the hell to make 2 bullies have sex, because I didn't know nothing about it. People was talking about how you clip them up, and raping stations and all this other shit. And,
Right,
you got a
right.
girl down and you trying to make them breed. Man, I'm over there mad. I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I can't get nothing done. And then somebody put me up on game that the vet does it. And I'm like, I just wanted to just sock somebody in the mouth, man. I was so mad that you could just go to the vet and pay a few dollars and have the vet take care of it for you. I've been out there in the
Right.
yard looking like a fucking weirdo with my 2 dogs just like it was. And so I finally went to the vet, and I bred to the female I had at the house. I bred her, and I got 5 females and 3 boys off of that Stomper Bay Bully Stomper boy. So then I really wasn't getting the attention. I got a rainbow litter. I had some chocolates, I had some fawns, I had some blues, I didn't get any lilacs back then, but and then I think I had a couple black ones, but I had 3 boys and 5 girls. And so I was just getting in the game. You know, I could barely give them away for a couple bands, trying to get people to, you know, your friend to take one and do putbacks or whatever. So then I
Right.
was like, you know what, I'm gonna go breed a Miyagi. You know, I called George up, and George was like, man, it's 10,000 to breed a Miyagi, got it back to Miyagi. And I was like, shit, let's run it. And so I gave George 10 bands, went down there, bred to Miyagi, posted that I bred to Miyagi, and I think 450 to 500 people added me as a friend just off of posting the breeding that I did. And so I was like,
Wow.
all right, I'm on to something. I was like, this is like what I've been trying to do the whole time, you know. And I used to look at George's friend list, and it's just full of Chinese writing and, you know, all these different foreign people. And I was like, man. And so when he bred to the dog, I went down to San Bernardino and I met him at the vet. I think the vet was open till like 9 p.m. So I drove straight down there. You know, they told me my girl spiked. I got a test. They were like, man, she spiked. And so I was jetted all the way down there. I met him at the vet. We went outside, and he just sat there for probably 2 hours, man, and just chopped it up with me about the game, about what he thought of my female, about, you know, what direction that he thought I should go in. He thumbed through his phone, showing me 60,000, 70,000 knocks, you know, dollar knocks from people asking him for dogs all day. And I was just sitting there really just, you know, kind of energized me and motivated me to realize that like this shit was real, because you get online and you see, you know, that, you know, the stuff online, but you don't know how much it's hype and you don't know what's really going on. And so it was really cool that George sat there and kind of gave me up. And then so I go back home and I missed. And so I had to come back for a repeat. So I come back for a repeat, and some of them girls were a little older. So I bring one of the girls. I'm gonna go back and show George my girl dog that I got, you know, off the first litter that I did. And I go
Mhm.
back, and he started telling me, you know, you could probably champ these girls out. You know, you got some real correct bullies. And he wasn't trying to be, you know, his shit was way more exotic. And he showed me a bunch of his dogs at his house. They were like more big old bulldog females that like just were huge, had a ton of bone. And he was like, you know, because Bolo was cracking. You know, I don't think Bowflex was
Right.
out yet, but Dirk Diggler was just starting to crack. You know, when I heard the first Bully Expo, I see Bolsachi, I see Dirk Diggler, I see Miyagi, I seen the names that like we're looking for, and Interstate Bullies Lewis was there. And so my boy was over taking pictures with him. I didn't even know who he was at the time. And so he was at the show, and I'd never seen him at another show ever. That was the only show I ever seen him at, I think, in my life. And so I went to the show with my correct dogs and went in there and seen what everybody was really doing. You know, people stop and kind of look at me and then just maybe ask, where's your dog off of? And then just keep it pushing. You know, I didn't get a lot of attention. And so I did the repeat with George, and then I locked in Dirk Diggler, and then I started following Lewis. So
Mm.
Lewis is buying $250,000 cars. You know, I'm following Lewis, and Lewis is snatching Lambos and S coupes, and like 3 months later,
Yeah.
he got a convertible Aston Martin, and I'm like, man, what the hell is this kid doing? You know, so I've been around bread, so I was like, you know, this is money. This is regardless. You got to have a serious income to get approved if you're financing these. If you ain't financing these and you cashing them out at a quarter ticket, then you're killing it anyway. So it really got my attention because I was just getting into the legal cannabis game out here in Cali, and I had buddies that were like killing it, you know, and I'd been, you know, around them and operating at a pretty high level for a long time, but I was seeing real money, you know, where I
Right.
could say, okay, this is some real shit, you know, because, you know, every once in a while your boy get a nice car, like ain't nobody get 6 of them in 2 years, you know. So Lewis really like made me go, holy shit. So I seen Hayes, and everybody had a story, you know, about how he either, they said he borrowed some money from his mom and to pay for a stud credit off of Miyagi, bred to Miyagi, and got Hayes. And so I was like, that's a hell of a story, you know. So you can just hit off of just breeding a Miyagi. So I'd already been trying. And George was hella cool. George let me try twice, didn't take. He let me send my son down with his daughter that I gave him off that litter I had, tried with her. You know, he let me try it 4 or 5 times, I believe. You know, and he never
Wow.
was like, nope, fuck you, you know, or did me dirty or nothing. He was always cool and was like, we're going to do it as many times till you get a litter, you know, and kept on trying to help me out. So then I locked in Hayes and bait. So then my females come into heat, and I go to the vet, and this is kind of when I shied away from the progesterone tests in house. I go to the vet, which is Orangeville Veterinary Hospital here in Sacramento, and they are a fertility place. They store semen, they do breeding, you know, so they're known for their breeding. And I know Kenny was going there with Pimpy. I know Imported Bullies was going there. I know a few big name people. Kong was going there. This is where everybody went. Luke, even Judge's owner was coming from the Bay, and he was going all the way out there, and he was using them out there at his house. Rich Chacon was using
Right.
Orangeville, so he's driving an hour and a half to go there. So I took it as that was the spot. So they tell me that my females are, I believe they said that my one female was like 18 or 16 and one was a 21. So I called Lewis frantic. I'm like, bro, you got to send it right now. I was like, you know, my girls are ready. And he was like, man, I already pulled Hayes today. He said, I could send you Bape twice. And Bape was probably maybe a little bit over a year. I didn't even really know who Bape was. So I was like, man, I was like, all right, you know, screw it, shoot it. So he shoots me 2 Bape, vials. I go in and I get to the vet that I go to, and they got an IDEX test. So I run an IDEX test just to see, you know, and I don't get the results. I breed the 2 dogs. And then I go back home, and they call me later that day, and they're like, man, one of your girls is like a 14, and the other one was like a 20. And the day before, they told me I was at a 16 and a 21, and I was going crazy thinking I was going to miss. So this is
Right.
when I realized that, like, them in-house tests are a lot of the reasons why a lot of us miss. They are not calibrated correctly, even at places that are specializing in fertility. They don't check them against the lab because they just getting their $100 or whatever they charge. Now it's like 150 and up, but they just making their money. And the lab test, they charge 90, but it cost them 60 or 65. They're only making $25. So it's in their interest to get you to use the in-house because they make more money
Right.
off the in-house. But both litters hit. And then I learned another tough lesson. I got 18 puppies, 10 off of one female, 8 off the other one off bait. The puppies came late at night. I went in and what was his name? Eric Parsons. He had a badass Miyagi son, but he was in there helped deliver the litter with the vet, and he was like, "Tell you the truth, bro, I think you won. You know, Bape's popular right now. You know, he goes, you got 10 chocolates, and I didn't even know chocolates and lilacs were the shit. I'm like, oh man, I got 10 brown dogs. I'm over there all like thinking it's something bad. I didn't even know I hit because he wasn't really excited. He's like, oh, you know, he's like, oh, you got 10, they're all chocolate. I'm like, great. I'm thinking I need a bunch of colors. I know I hit. So I go back home and I take the dogs home and they roll on a puppy. 10 puppies and 8 puppies is really hard, you know, and I'm doing the swimming pool shit, you know, with the heat lamp. I didn't have incubators or nothing back then. And so I call Kong and Kong don't answer. He says, text me, I'm busy. So I text him and I'm like, hey, bro, I got these females. They've rolled on a couple dogs. You know, what do I do? And he says, separate them from the mom. And he don't say, hey, Brad, you know, the dog's got to be 86 degrees for 2 weeks, you know, or anything like that. He just says separate from the mom. So I take a little cardboard box and throw all the puppies in a cardboard box by themselves next to the mother. And every dog, like a couple days later, starts sniffling. And then they're feeding on the mom and they're like, and you can hear the little sniffle, you know, and I don't think nothing of it. And then like 2 more days later, one of them stops eating. So then I'm like, damn, now I'm like 2 weeks in, I've had them a minute. And so then a couple more stop eating. So then I'm like, oh shit. So I grab them and I put them in the a box and take them to see the vet. And I could just see the look on the vet's face. You know, he's sitting there going, man, Brad, you know, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think they got pneumonia. You know, and I'm like, really? And so then he gives me some medicine. I think he gave me Clavamox back then. And I went home and I started giving them, you know, Clavamox, and just one by one, man, they start dropping. And so I'm giving them the Clavamox and they're pushing like 3 weeks. So then I go to another vet because I'm like not trying to just accept the fact. I got 5 lilacs and 3 blues out of one litter, and I got 10 chocolates out the other litter. So I'm going into the vets and they're showing me how to tube feed. They're showing me how to give fluids in the skin to make them stay hydrated. And then I'm going home and they're still dropping. So I get to another vet. I'm like my 3rd vet. You know, I done paid $3,500 for the 2 C-sections. I done paid, I don't remember what I paid, about $8,500 for the 2 breedings. And then, and man, I lost about half these litters so far. And then somebody gave me the azithromycin. So I go home and I start giving them that. And I'm tube feeding and everything. So one litter, I get a whelper. I'm like, can you take these and try to help me? I'm losing them. I got 2 litters. So this lady in town takes half of them. She loses every dog but one. She saves one dog. And of course, it's the biggest one and it's blue. All the little lilac ones die. All, you know, because you always lose your best ones. If people don't realize that shit, the first one to go is usually the one that you want to keep. So I saved 4 out of the 10. And so I go back to Dr. C's and on a checkup when they get a little bit better. And he's like, man, Brad, he goes, I didn't have the heart to tell you when you came in here that you were going to lose all your dogs. He goes, but he said, I never thought you would save 4. And he opened his cupboard, and his whole cupboard was azithromycin, because I had went and got that from another vet, and he always gave Clavamox. So it changed the way that he did things, and actually made him start carrying a different medication for people when their dog got pneumonia. And so one of them 4 chocolate dogs ended up being Kobe's mom. And she stopped eating, because normally when they stopped eating, that you lost them. And she stopped eating, and I was giving her the medicine. And the next day she started eating again, and she snapped out of that shit and came back. And that ended up being Nugget. That ended up being Kobe's mom. And so the one litter, I had the one gray blue boy. The blue boy I sold to a friend. And then I had a Dirk Diggler litter. I got one black tri, and I got a bunch of sables. And then they're, you know, was a little bit hard to get rid of. Dude said sables and dogs with black mats are one of the hardest things to, you know, shake. But I didn't know back then that sable was just an AYAT dog. It was just a dog that got bred from a tri to a dog that didn't carry tri. And you can get a black sable, you can get a blue sable, you can get a chocolate sable, you can get a lilac sable. You know, you can get every different version of a sable. But most people just see the black sable, which is the fawn colored dog with the black in its face and stuff. That's what most people always see, not knowing that there's 4 or 5 different kinds. So that right there was like, you know, when I first got good dogs on the ground, I was probably 30 bands in. I mean, 2 Miyagi, you know, the Miyagi breeding for 10 bands, bought the female for 6,000, paid 8,500 to breed the Hayes and Bait, paid 3,000 because both my damn, you know, litters came at night and on a Sunday, and I had to pay emergency to go in. So I'm learning all the tough lessons, like right out the gate, man. And then the pneumonia hits. And so if I was discouraged or any kind of quitter, boy, I probably would have tapped the hell out and chalked my losses up and kept it pushing. But I started seeing the results, you know, now when I'm going out with the puppies and I'm posting puppies, a lot more people are saying, damn, that's tight. You know, a lot more people add me from using bait, from using, you know, Miyagi, kind of picked up a little bit of steam. And I'm still just selling dogs to friends. You know, I'm still just trying to get them off, because online, you know, the people, they want a dog that looks perfect. And the next part of the hustle is taking pictures. And that's one of the next hardest part, is to get somebody to help you take a picture and put your dog up right. Because you can have a nice dog, and if you don't know how to take a picture, they're going to be like, all right, man, thanks. And they're going to talk to you. And you seeing everybody holding them up and holding their tail up. I used to watch X-Stack, because they were really good at getting their little puppies stacked really good and having somebody take a picture. And so I started telling my girl, look, you know, I'm gonna need some help. You're gonna have to come out here and start, you know, helping us take some pictures, because I had this little 2-step porch, and they would sit there in the sun, so I could catch them slipping and take a picture and get a couple pictures of them all together. You know, that was like my best little lick, was, you know, the little front porch that I had. And so the Dirk Diggler stuff got big, you know, because he was off of Bolo, so it was a little bigger shit. So it got big and really didn't do anything for me. Nugget, I bred her to Dizzy. And everybody knows what happened on that one, man. The first litter off of Dizzy. Everybody don't know, really. I got 7 puppies my first breeding with Dizzy Devil. And they came by and visited, and they wanted to buy a couple from me. So I showed them the puppies, and they asked for 2. And I traded them 2 for 2 stud credits back to Dizzy Devil. And then I bred Nugget back to Dizzy on the next credit. And I got Kobe off one of those stud credits. Kobe and Ant, Hope's dad, both came off of a free stud credit from trading a puppy to Dizzy.
Wow.
And so
that's a wow.
Sometimes you gotta stay down till you come up. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta just rock that shit. And you know, I could have got bitter and you know, and over a bunch of shit that happened to me, but I kind of just figured, you know, we done been through the storm now. Shit. Now it's gonna be should be some smooth sailing. Right. And so Dizzy's Jay Lee came to town. Tobe was about 5 or 6 months, I think. And he said, hey, Brad, I'm in town, man. I think they were seeing another dog. I'm not sure which dog it was, but they were out here seeing a dog. And they said, hey, we're going to stop by and check out Kobe. So I was like, yeah, come through. And they came around, and, you know, I got a pretty big yard over here. I got a couple acres. And I'm not into the kennels, you know, because I like to just let my bullies roam and play and run around this shit. And, you know, play in the yard. He comes over and he goes out back, and he's got his camera. He's going to help me take a couple pictures. And he's like, hey, Brad, he's like, man, he goes, listen, I ain't trying to tell you what to do. You know, he's very really polite, you know, right, be really tactful. He goes, you know, I don't want to offend you or nothing, man. He goes, but you ever thought about maybe taking him in the house? And I was like, why? And I was just sitting there looking at him. I was like, he's good. I said, what's wrong with him? He's out here playing around. He goes, I'm like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, man. He goes, but he's like, bro, that's probably $1 million dog, man. If I owned him, he goes, you might want to think about taking him inside. And so he was so little, I hadn't even done his ears yet. You know what I mean? I think he was, like I said, I don't think I did their ears till around 5 months, maybe 6 months. And so I kind of went inside and I was like, damn, babe, you hear what he said? Because you don't know if you use the guy's stud, he's going to come over and just blow smoke up your ass because, you use the stud and he just wants to tell you, that shit's tight because it's off of his dog. So you got to kind of take it, with a grain of salt. Like, okay, yeah, $1 million dog, whatever, dude. But it's a good compliment,
Right.
So the ear dude comes over and the ear dude does his ears. And when the ear dude does his ears, he's like, hey, bro, how much to lock him in? And I was like, just doing $1,000. I told Jay Lee was the first lock-in Dizzy's owner. I took a $500 lock-in, $1,000 stud credit. I was so happy somebody was going to pay me to use the dog. I didn't know what to start him at, but I knew it wasn't $5,000 like Miyagi and Bait because I wasn't nobody. I wasn't even established. So I was just doing it for a band. I was like, first 10 lock-ins, $1,000. I figured I'd get $10,000. I would be happy as hell. So so dude bought one, that's doing the ears, and he left and tried to buy 2 more. And I was like, and so then his friend called me and his friend came over and his friend was the guy that, ended up being Manuel Azevedo from OBK. And he come over and he showed me how to pull cob and, the stuff to do for breeding and shit. So he comes by and he's like, hey, let me get a lock in. And then, so 3 people seen him, Jay Lee, the ear dude, and Manuel. Man, 12 motherfuckers call me trying to buy lock-ins off of cob. And so I was like, and the ear dude wanted 2 more. So I was like, nah, man, he's closed, and so I called Jay Lee back because I was like, like I said, I've been around business. I knew something was up. So I called Jay Lee back and I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? And he goes, well, Brad, I told you when I came over there, man. He goes, that's a badass dog. He said, they're just trying to get as many lock-ins as they can for a G because that's hella cheap. So I closed him and I didn't open him back up till I tested his sperm, made sure his sperm was good. I got, I checked him out and count was good. Everything was up. So I reopened him up at like 2 bands. And now COVID hit. So now there ain't even no dog shows. Everybody's on lockdown. We're all stuck in the house. And I'm sitting over here with the Golden Goose. And so they have a little local fun show in the park over here. And I go run over to the park. So I pull up in I got a little 4-wheel drive like golf cart utility vehicle truck that I put a wrap on, says Gold Country Bullycamp. So I throw my shit in that and drive it to the park. So I pull up, fold the sides down. I got my grass in the back. I'm stacking the dogs in the little truck. And the dude walks up. That's one of my friends. Lehigh comes over, and he's one of my boys' buddies that goes to the shows all the time. And he stops, and he's like, Brad, he's like, listen, I'm going to go to the car and get my money. Okay, I just want you to know I'm going to lock this boy in right now. Get my money. He said, but listen, he said, I go to shows, bro. He goes, there ain't nothing like that, man. He goes, before you leave, I want to take a picture with him before he's famous. And so now I'm looking at dude like, all right, bro, right. I'm the same as the other shit with the $1 million shit. I'm kind of in denial. What I mean? I'm kind of I'm not really thinking that like he's being serious. I'm thinking, he knew me. So then I'm watching the people and somebody's like, damn, bro, who's he off of? And then they're leaving and getting people and coming back and I'm listening. They're like, see, bro, look, I told you, and they're all looking at him. So now I'm looking at everybody and I'm kind of watching, I get 6 lock-ins sitting there at this little, at a park, sitting there just waiting on people to come see him. So then I go back home and I'm like, damn, babe, I'm like, I just got 6 lock-ins at the park and I had him at 2,000 then, still 500 lock-in, so now I'm juiced. So my girl's from Ohio, my girl's from Columbus. So we're going to go see her family out in Columbus and I see the wow factor is in Dayton. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, let's go out there and see your aunt and shit and your dad. And I said, let's take Kobe out there. So we take Kobe with us and we go out to the wow factor. I think I got 17 lock-ins at the wow factor. And then I left the wow factor and went home and got 14 more lock-ins during the week. And then I went to, I want to say it was the first jungle. I think I went to the first jungle, or I think I went to ABR Jamboree and got another 15. And I had 44 lock-ins in 8 days from a Saturday to a Saturday. Shit. And that's when I knew that Kobe was going to take off. I was sitting at Sensei's booth with Kobe. Kobe was like, it was November. So I want to say it's the ABR Bully Jamboree. Fred Rory had bought that dog off of Kong for 60 bands. And they went out there and did the transaction live at the show with 30 Rich and everybody was out there. And I sat at X-Stack's booth and got 7 lock-ins. sitting there. People were like, my boy was stacking him, and they're like, bro, they're asking him. He's like, that's the owner right there. And he kept having them come over, and I'm talking to Kong because my first dog, you know, was really from Kong, Kobe's great grandma.
Right.
And so I'm chopping it up with Kong, you know, over there, like happy as shit, you know, talking about it, and just lock in, lock in, lock in, lock in. And so, man, that shit really, you know, is where he took off. I came home, went to a Vegas show, then I raised him up, you know, and then, you know, the rest of history, he's got 200 plus litters on the ground. He's got over 300 lock-ins. I think he's made about 1.3 million to date. He's made 140,000 since January 1st in the last not even 60 days. We ain't even 60 days into the year.
That's
man.
funny. I was gonna touch on that because I seen that on your Instagram.
And I didn't know. I just linked my accounts and started adding the deposits, and then just started adding up the expenses. And you know, it's really 14 G's in expenses because I went and bought a new truck and put 50 down, and that's on there. Right. So really, if I wouldn't have bought the truck, you know, it would have been a lot different. But yeah, man, he's definitely changed everything. Because when I used to first be, you know, talking to everybody, I'd be going on lives. I'd be on my way to the farm, you know, pushing to the mountains in the truck, talking to people on live in the truck every day. Man, I ain't put a fucking plant in the ground since 2020. You know,
yeah, that's what I was about to add. That's what I was about to ask you too, because I said I seen you were selling your grow lights, and I read the caption. It was like, you don't even need to worry about growing anything with him.
Man, those were at a little, you know, at my house, because I always did greenhouses, so I just built. I had a little 15 lighter at the house, and I lived up in Auburn, which is where I got Gold Country Bullycamp from. That's kind of Gold Country area, and the zip code up there is 530. That's why it said 530. And so I just started dabbling around with the indoor because I just wanted to see how hard it was. I was paying people to mix the nutrients. I was paying people to do everything. And my buddy gave me the recipe in a little notebook. So I just kind of followed the recipe, and I threw the lights in there, and I grew one round, and it came out really good, you know? So I was like, damn, I was like, what if this shit's a fluke, you know? So I threw it in there again. And the second time it came back fire, I went to the farm and fired everybody. All the people I was paying to do that shit. I was like, man, I could do this shit. I let everybody go but the workers. And so, but you know, you're leaving and you're going and doing that, and you're running up there, and it's just, you know, I'm big on the law of attraction. I'm big on, you know, like attracts like. I'm big on doing good business. It's how I got to where I was. You know, I got all my friends from junior high school are still my friends. You know, I don't burn bridges. I don't have no reputation from fucking people over or doing anybody bad. And then, you know, when I got to a certain point, I just always knew that, like, bring people along with you, help people out, you know, and that way they're always, you know, they'll talk about you. Inadvertently, you're helping yourself because you did such right by them that they can't help but to give you a good review or a good compliment, or tell somebody, man, really, this fucking dude right here is solid as fuck if you want to fuck with somebody. So it's a good way to get people back with you. And the more dirtball moves that start happening in the weed game, I just walk on people. Instead of getting mad like I used to when I was young and want to go over and be judge, jury, and executioner, I just start just fuck it. That chalked it up. Fuck it, whatever. Too much resistance in that direction. Let's go another direction. And it just seemed like the dog game was just kind of pulling me away from the weed game. And the more that the weed game started slowing down, and the more that Kobe started picking up, it seemed like that was the route to go. And if it wasn't enough, like, we had a big snowstorm. I think it was 2020 out here, where it snowed low like it is right now. Like I sent you the picture earlier, it snowed down like 1,000 feet. So my property is about 2,300 feet. So I wake up in the morning. I got some clones. I told my buddy to get me some clones. Weed had plummeted, but I was thinking, oh, it's probably just a fad. I'm going to get some clones, throw them in. By the time I harvest this next shit, maybe shit'll turn around. So I'm going to go up there to make sure that the heat's on, make sure the power's not out, and go and check on everything. And I get up there, and my whole $100,000 automated greenhouse is fucking caved in from the snow. The power turned off, the heat turned off, and the motherfuckers just caved in, and it smashed down in the middle. And I looked at it, and I was like, if that ain't the biggest sign that I ever fucking seen in my life, you know, because I'd already been about a year out, and I hadn't done shit. And the first time I had an inclination of going back up there, the universe came around and was like, nope, and just slapped my shit down. And was like, take your ass back home and keep hustling your dog, man. And so I just kept on pushing on the dog. So I rented that house up there to a friend. He had dogs, and it had like 10 kennels. And I was like, bro, just give me like $2,500 for the spot, and give me an extra couple bands. You can use the rooms and all that shit. And then he ended up buying his own house and moving out. So I took the rooms apart, threw that shit online, told somebody if they want to come grab them, you know, they could come grab them. anybody in the Sacramento area, I'll give you all 15 lights for $500, man. They Phantom
Right.
fucking, grow lights. So just in case you guys want those and you've seen them online, they ain't expensive. I ain't trying to get nothing really out of them. Just, really, I'm probably going to take them to the dump if somebody don't come pick them up.
Right. So
For
let
that
me
shit.
ask you. So with the with the Kobe line, um, that was the Bully Expo. What's that? 7 that just passed.
Yep.
You invited a lot of people out with you that has Kobe Productions, and one of them being Monet.
Yes, sir. She be doing her thing, man.
Yeah,
She's a
and
grinder. She hit these
she
local
took
shows. She
yeah,
put her work in. She's been working Nacho like a motherfucker. And she's been doing her, all the shit she should be doing. I stay away from the local shows a little bit because it gives the people time to shine. What do I look like showing up with Kobe and just chewing up everything everywhere? So I kind of, I go to the big ones and I kind of leave that as an area for people to grow their brand and kind of
right,
function at these little ones. I might pop up here and there just to support and say what's up, but you don't see me really postering them up like I do a lot of the stars are in the game, because like on that post I made, I think that like when you go for the belt or you go for the big dog and you put your dog down and your dog looks good against the dog that everybody knows, I think it does 10 times more than it does running around trying to show out the little dogs, so I like the underdogs because I feel like I was an underdog. And so Monet, man, I got to give her flowers, man. That girl, she hustles. She's a single mom. Man, she come down there dragging her wagon with her son, with her dog crates, with both of her dogs, pulled up in the booth, sat there and set all her shit up, went over, had her kids sitting there playing, messing with us, went and signed all her dogs up at the damn show and took best in show. Man, I couldn't have been happier, man, for somebody like her because she earned that shit. She didn't have a helper. She didn't have a friend. She drove 7 hours on her own with the kid, with 2 dogs, no fucking excuses, and came out there and fucking showed out. And so to
right.
me, she deserved every bit of that, man. That was a proud moment, just to
Yeah,
see her out there.
I was about to ask you, how did you feel about that moment? Being that, I mean, shit, she won Best in Show, not only with a Kobe production, but also a female.
With a female. I talked to Dogtown Bullies because Dogtown Bullies came up and was like, bro, he had his one that he won in his category. And he was like, hell yeah, we taking some shit back to Northern Cali, and he was happy as shit. And then I seen him and I was like, bro, you see Monet won that shit? He's like, yeah, she beat me. He's like, man, I was out there. He goes, but man, he said her dog just moves so beautifully. He said, you really can't knock her, man. She just out there gliding. And that's, I think, what really did it was just how perfect that her gait was and how really good that she looked, I think was what separated her from the pack when it came down to all the top bulls. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what Charles said. He said, man, that dog was perfect. She worked her good and she just ran around the ring like she owned that shit. And I think that's what really sewed it up for her. It was just, the amount of preparation she probably did with Diamond to get her to that point.
right. Yeah, no, it's funny too because we recently just interviewed her since she won this show, and because I was like, man, we got to get her on.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, she was fucking shit up. I said, man. Then I said, it's funny when I did the interview with her. I said, man, you make me look at the dog game from a different standpoint because we think it's a male dominant sport, but really the women got the upper hand because y'all the ones that bear children and all that stuff. So you really had a passion and the nurturing and all that shit
To go
that
through
we
all that
lack.
for sure. I was a single parent, a couple of my baby's mamas ran off and left me with the kids. And so I feel it, what I mean? When somebody like that is doing it and you got to respect it because, like I said, it'd be very easy for her to say, nah, Brad, I can't make it, man. I got my kid and I ain't got no help, man. I got to stay at the house, and she didn't say shit. And I kind of called her and nudged her a little bit, told her, hey, we're going to have a videographer. I got you guys your own booth for productions, and just come on out. And I didn't even know for sure she was coming. She's the last one that pulled up at the end and came out and did her damn thing. But she's got quite the trophy room, man. If she showed you guys when you guys were on there, she, it ain't her first best in show. It's a huge best in show, but she's definitely been out there working Nacho over the last year from all the way down to Fresno, man. I go to Fresno on a fluke because, I don't really advertise because people put it on their flyer and kind of advertise a bunch of stuff that Cobe's coming.
Right.
I'll fucking pop up unannounced with Kobe and just hit the show and just see what everybody does. I remember going to one in Modesto.
Right.
And that's why I do it. I went to one in Modesto and this lady came up and I did a circle, came back, seen Kong, me and Kong in there taking shots of him as he privileged and shit, bullshitting. And this lady come up and she goes, you know what's funny? And I was like, what's that? And she goes, everybody here is running around going, Kobe's here. Hey, Kobe's here. I said, and it just kind of made me feel good. I was like, man, I'm going to do this shit more. I'm going to pop up at these little ones, and I ain't going to enter the show. You know, I'm not going to go do no shit like that. I just pop up and let everybody see him, put their hands on him, you know, pet him, check him out, stack him if they want a picture. They want to action it, you know, a top dog and to get themselves noticed. You know, I don't think one person could tell you I've ever told them they can't stack next to my dog, whether it been a fat great dog, a messed up dog. I stacked with canines before, German shepherds and shit, just to let somebody get a picture. And the cool shit is the kids, man. I got a dude, his kid was probably 2 or 3 years old, and he came out and stacked with Kobe when Kobe was like barely a year. And I see him at the shows now, and he's probably 6 or 7, you know, so he probably was about 3, maybe he's 3 or 4. And he showed me his phone, and he's like, man, we got a picture with you every year with Kobe somewhere, you know. And he had all this shit with his son, and it was cool to see because he was getting bigger. You know, he wasn't a teenager yet, but you could tell he was getting bigger, and it was just cool to see, you know, people that were coming out, you know, just for that. And you know, at the West Coast Bully Expo, I had a guy from Brazil. Let me see, I got his shit over here. This dude, Martinez Bullies, this dude said he came all the way from Brazil just to see Kobe. Brought me a hat.
Wow.
So then everybody's like, man, why are you rocking that hat? I said, man, dude, come all the way from another country to come see my boy. I'm wearing shit all day. You know, in France, it was Italy, there was Mexico, there was China, there was Brazil. I mean, there was probably 7 countries, I think, that came by the Bully Expo just to say what's up, check Kobe out, and to show some love.
Speaking on that other country thing, I seen you post the China movement with the Kobe blood. They basically have a whole show basically wrapped around his bloodline.
Man, they did, and it was impressive, because they've been shut down over there for a while, and so I sold Kobe's brother to Ant to my boy over there, Ling Mang, that's over there in China, and he had him for a little bit, and then had a litter. He sold Hope for 6 figures. I don't remember the exact sale for Hope, but I think he was like 115 or 145 or something like that. And he sold Hope to Shipang, and then something happened to Ant. He called me and told me he was going to do a video shoot, and he's getting ready to do a video and all this stuff. And I woke up in the morning to some text from the East Coast that said Ant passed away. And I was like, no, I don't think so, man. I said, he just told me he's getting ready to do a video and shit. And so I hit him up, and I asked him, and he said he passed away. That somebody gave him a treat, and he choked out on the treat, man, like in front of about 40, 50 people at the video shoot. And so he wanted another dog, and I had a litter on the ground, and I had a pup back deal. I bought a girl from Kenny, a pimpy daughter, and he got second pick overall. So I talked to Kenny, and Kenny said that, you know, he had a bunch of dogs, and he said he'd rather take, you know, a buyout. So I was like, well, I'll give you 10,000, because I only had 2 females. I was worried really he was going to take the other female. And so I just wanted to try to, you know, get it to where at least I knew if he wanted a boy or a girl, whatever, I just bought it back. So I bought the credit back for 10 bands. And then that's how he ended up getting Cece. I sold Cece over to China. And Kenny could have got him. Kenny came back over and seen him. We were doing the pictures here, and Kenny was like, oh, man, don't sell that dog, man. He looks like Pimpy. And I was like, he's already sold. He's going to China. And he's like, let me get him. I'll give you 10 bands. I said, man, I just gave you 10 bands to get the dog. I'm not going to give you. Plus, he already gave me a deposit. I said, man, I'm not going to do that. I said, dude already locked in a deposit. And he tried to give me a stud credit to Mafioso. And so then we were bargaining back and forth. And, you know, he couldn't come up with nothing that we agreed upon. Because I told him, I said, you know, dude lost a dog. I feel bad he lost a dog. And so I shot Cece over there. And Cece and Hope then took off. I mean, Cece's got litters with the congressman in Philippines, sent me a thing saying he's got litters. I know a couple other people here in the States that got females off of him pregnant that got litters. I know there's a litter in Atlanta off of Hope. I know there's a litter in Los Angeles off of Hope. I know that there's one more too. I don't remember where he's from, but they just said that they're going to bring some Hope puppies out here coming up. So not only did he transcend the country and get up out to China, but he's so big in China that people are buying their litters back in the States from China that came off of them dogs.
Wow.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
So at this point with Kobe, are you still producing puppies or like yourself inside your camp, or you like
I do. I just, you don't see very many of them because of TikTok. TikTok when I posted them a couple videos that went crazy, you know, I think one of them's got 6.4 million on TikTok, but it's got,
Right.
I think, 12 million plays on Instagram and Facebook. So Kobe was coming up on 2 or 4 reels on people's phones at the same time when he went viral off of that shit.
Wow.
So in 2 days, I went from like 100 followers or 80 followers to 124,000 followers on TikTok. And so I just started putting my Instagram on the bottom of them videos and putting my Facebook on the video. That way they could get to my other accounts. But I ended up with so many messages on the comments, because you can't message people directly because unless they're your friend. So then I started adding people in, and I got a pretty big list. But I started going back down the list when I had puppies, and all those people wanted dogs right away. Most of them bought dogs, so the list was kind of a waste of time. Plus, it was making me tell other people, I got 200 people on a list, and I was scaring away knocks of people that could come buy a dog, because I thought that all these other people wanted one already, and I didn't have no deposit. So I quit doing the list. If I post a puppy and you hit me up and you want a dog and you drop a deposit, shit, you're gonna get the dog. So the people that are like on it at first, you know, they probably get first action. I think Kobe's first year was 300,000 in sperm sales and 130,000 in puppies. And then this last year, it was pretty even. You know, it was about 280 to 2 something. And then this year, I just bred him to Cece's sister, Honey Bun. I'm breeding her at 4 o'clock. Yesterday, I bred Tony, Pretty Tony, which is Cece's brother, to Kobe's sister, to Pebbles. So it's basically a sister to a nephew and a dad to a daughter. Then when I gave him Cece, he bribed me because I told him, look, somebody else wants Cece. And then Cece was third pick. I had a first pick female and a first pick male. They fell in my fucking koi pond. My kois all come up when you go to feed them, and they bubble at the top. And I think they went after the fish or something, and they both fucking jumped in the water and drowned. So Cece then was now the first pick. So I called him out there, and I called Ming Lang, and I was like, listen, man, I said, I really need this dog, man. I said, I'm trying to produce a dog. And he's like, nah, Brad, come on. You can't do that shit to me. He's like, I really need the dog. I said, I know, but I'll do a repeat. I said, I just lost my only boy. This is the first boy that can produce try off of Kobe. I really need this dog. And he was like, come on, man. He goes, I'll give you a female, man. He goes, I'll give you one of the best females in my yard, man. Just send me the dog. So he sent me a 2 times Veneno Crunch granddaughter. And I just bred her to Kobe yesterday. So I got 3 in-house breedings that I did this week. All fire breedings that should, you know, have some bomb ass puppies in about 60 days. But definitely the puppy is picked up. It's hard to produce that many to keep up with the demand, you know, and that's why I share so many people's posts. I share posts, I share puppies, I share breedings, because I know after that list that they're not going to stick around. If they want a dog right now, they're going to go buy a dog right now. So for me sitting around to not just tell everybody with Kobe puppies, hey, hit these people up, contact these people, it's just being selfish, because there's a million people out there that want puppies, and somebody else will come around and get a dog from me, or somebody that I did a good deed for will turn around and say, man, hit up Kobe's owner, you know, he's got some. And so it just, you know, just makes it to where everybody's going to eat, you know, instead of me just sitting around hogging up all these messages.
Right. Yeah, man. Man, shoot. Hey, I don't even got to ask you no questions, man. You done ran through a whole lot of stuff, man. Hey, like, and it's funny. It's funny. Excuse me. Hey. I'm actually on the interview, so I need you to be quiet, and I need you to go upstairs to your room, and I already got your video game cut off. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
All good.
You can use the restroom upstairs. You can use the bathroom upstairs. Use it in my room. Thank you. But yeah, man. It was funny because my outreach manager, Vaughn, the guy who reached out to you, I had told him, I had sent him your Instagram. I said, hey, we got to get this guy on. I said, we got to get this guy on. I said, man, he got this dog named Kobe. I said, they out here fucking shit up, man. He said, okay, man, I'm on it. And then it was like, oh, man, we got it. It's funny because people we've been reaching out to, a lot of people on the West Coast, the time difference is what be messing us up. And so then I was like, I hit him up today. I said, man, did you talk to Brad? He say, no, I'm gonna talk to him at 12 o'clock. Oh, I'm gonna contact him at 12 o'clock. I said, I'm going to the gym, man. I said, if you hear anything from him, let me know. He texts me back. He say, Bread is driving in some real terrible weather right now.
I took off to go look at this remodel. I told him, I said, I'll be home in about 2 hours and I'll tap in with you guys because I got a little window before I do this other breeding. And you know, it's just good to let, you know, some people, I'll post my lives and I'll get comments of people saying, man, I needed to hear that. You know, they needed to hear that you didn't just come from a bunch of money, hop in the game, first time hit, and then you just sailed off in the sunset, just riding on a wave of money and just shit was all good. That people need to hear that there's struggles with everybody. People need to hear that, like, you know, there's perseverance that is involved in this stuff, like in anything, and you got to see some shit through. You're going to have losses, you know, you're going to have tough shit, but you're going to see a lot of dirtbag shit, but you know, rarely do those people last, you know. So if you stay around long enough, you'll realize that, you know, good business is going to get you a long way. You know, like I said, making yourself accessible and not just acting. Because I don't feel like, I don't feel probably as big as the dog has gotten. You know, I went to a show with my girl, and she hadn't really been out to the shows. My buddy used to go with me all the time, but he used to spend his own money and come out to the shows, help me stack, take pictures. And there's only so long you can go with somebody and do that shit. So I understood, you know, he's got his own hustle and his own shit. So I was like, babe, I need you to come because I go to the shows and we try to take pictures. And when we take pictures, the other people don't send them to me, man. Their dog don't look good. And so if their dog looks bad, then I don't get the picture. I said, I need you to come, man. I need my own pictures. I got to be able to have pictures of these dogs that I'm getting next to. So we go, she comes with me out of town, and we get out the car, and she comes to the jungle. I think it was the second jungle. And when he was still over there in Mesquite, and we get out the car, and you hear, hey, there he is. Hey, that's him right there. Hey, is that Kobe? You know, and like we go inside, and like I look over, and she's just like, she's almost like welling up, and she's like, man, she's like, I can't believe this is really happening. She's like, and she's got like chills on her arms and shit, because just seeing the response. I told her, I said, it's like being with a rapper, or like being with somebody famous. You hop out, and it's like, it's like paparazzi's waiting on you. Everybody's like, oh shit. You know, and once the TikTok shit hit, even people in the airport are like, oh, hey, I follow you on TikTok, you know, just random ladies and shit, you know, because they seen the posts.
Right.
And so it's just really cool to see a little animal on his own, you know, with his little personality and the way that he acts, that what he was able to accomplish and how he elevated the camp to the point that it's at this point. Because before him, I spent $70,000 on stud fees. I had bred to every top dog in the game that I could find over the last 3 or 4 years. You know, I had bought just that dog from Kong, you know, because so many people hang papers and do shit. It kind of makes you leery about buying stuff, you know. So I didn't really want to, once I knew I had a good product, I didn't want to mess it up by going to somebody that I didn't know or didn't trust. So I kind of stayed to myself. I didn't buy another dog for like 6 years, all the way till I bought Patty Cakes from Cece's mom from Kenny. That was the second dog I bought. And I don't even think I bought another one. I think I bought 2 dogs in 9 years, and I made all the rest of them.
So what's the future of the camp?
It's all about, you know, trying to recreate greatness. I mean, does lightning hit strike? You know, strike twice? Is it going to happen again? You know, you look at the other big camps, you know. Or anybody that sold a dog for $500,000 or $250,000, you know, did they ever have another star? Did they ever come up with another dog? You know, because, you know, Hayes hit and Lewis bought Babe and Lewis bought Sabu. And I don't know if he made, you know, his other tri boy that he has. And same thing, you know, I don't think George, I don't know. I think George, they said he bought Joggy. And, you know, any of the big names you could think of, you know, it's hard to hit again, you know, and especially at the level that he blew up at. And so it's all about, you know, structure is the main thing. Once you get that look and you get that structure of the type of bully that you got, you know, that's it. And then now it's all about just, you know, now you go after the color second, because, you know, if you have color first and the dogs all grow up and everybody says I got a shitty dog that didn't turn out, you ain't going to last, you know. And they're not going to come up to you and they're not going to say that. They're going to rumble around on the outskirts and they're all going to talk amongst each other. That's why I tell everybody, the people choose if your dog is tight or not. You don't get to choose. You can yell and holler and scream all you want, and you know, it'll get you a little attention. But if you're going to last, your production's got to speak louder than you and the dog. You got to be able to make other people have an opportunity, which is what I see people are seeing now. They see in Monet, who wasn't really known, blow up. They see in Brian Lewis out there with Pablo winning best in shows left and right, popping up at all these places, taking Kobe belts and stuff, you know, getting $90,000 co-own offers from NFL players. They see Bryant, the little guy from Fundamental Frenchies, that, you know, they're turning down
Right.
6-digit offers already, you know, from people in the game, and they have 800 followers on Instagram. And so it's not just the big name guys with 200,000 followers. It's not just luck. You know, there's really dogs out here that can take you to a next level, like hitting the lottery. And it might not be your first litter, but if your first litter, your dog's okay, and you breed to Kobe, now your dog's 50% of a really great dog. Now, say you go and you breed to one more dog, you know, that's off the hook. Now you got 75% of top studs and only 25% of what you started with. You now have the capability of hitting at any time. Now it's about putting litters on the ground, because the more times that you know, put litters on the ground, the more opportunity you have of getting that dog. It's probably not going to happen in one litter. Some people get lucky, but if you're playing the odds, you need to get productions out there. You need to produce as many bullies as you can. You need to, if you ain't popular, do putbacks. Get some putbacks of some different blood, because, you know, when I first started, I took a cheap dog and I took a year and a half to make her into a good dog, taking the best dog from a litter, wait until that dog got old enough, go and breeded it to a top stud, and it worked. But if you have the money, I would tell you to go buy that $20,000, $30,000 female immediately, because that's going to save you a year and a half or 2 years. And then you can breed her right to a top stud and hit, you know, and you might not hit, you know, where you got the $100,000 dog, but you're going to need something like that if you're going to be selling $10,000 puppies. And if you want to get to where you're selling tens and, you know, your last pick's 5, you're going to have to start with a little bit tighter dog, or you better have 2 years of your time to waste, and then make the right decision with your matchmaking and the stud that you use to create that look. Otherwise, there's a lot of people out here that are successful that are kind of doing the footwork for you. And if you got the bread to go and skip some steps, is basically what you're going to do. You're going to skip some steps. You can see the dog already is a certain age. You can see the dog already turned out. And so it's worth the money, because if somebody told you you could hit a year before you did and it only cost you 20 G's, you know, most of us would be like, hell yeah, take my money, you know, because, you know, time is the essence. Studs do die out. And then so you could have something that's super tight and you could miss. And then by the time you breed it again and drop the puppies, it might not even be tight no more. You know, there's a lot of dogs that were out when I was in the shows 2 years ago that are pretty much missing in action now. And so, but back then they were, you know, they were the ones that were hitting
Big dog.
And so time is the essence in this game, you know, and there has to be a lot of stuff has to line up perfect for you. But people told me a long time ago, the stud game is different than just breeding dogs. You can breed dogs and sell puppies and not even be known and make a great living. You can make $100,000 a year very easily off of 3 or 4 litters, just with regular $5,000 dogs hitting 6 or 7 dogs a litter. You know, you could keep one, make 30, do that 3 times, you make 90. Not many people make 90. You know what I mean? And you could spend, you know, a few thousand on your stud fees and your C-sections, everything else. Say it's 5 or 6 a litter. You know, you could spend 20 to make 100 or make 90. There's not many investments where you can, you know, make 200 or 300% profit off of your money either. And so, you know, always shoot for the moon. If you miss, you know, land in the stars. But you know, it doesn't always happen. But sometimes if you just keep grinding, maybe you're going to hit year 5. Maybe you're going to hit year 6. You know, you never know when it's going to be your turn to hit. And so just stay persistent. You got to have a vision. That's one thing. I wanted to get in the game and kind of treat it like the weed game. I was like, I got hella land. I told Kong, I said, hey, bro, I'll produce hella dogs. You know, you get rid of them. I'll give you a deal for them. Like, I want to be the wholesale supplier and just give them to a dude who's already cracking and just let him sell that shit. And now when people say that shit to me, I'm like, fuck you. I go, I'm not fielding those phone calls. I go, that's the hardest fucking part is turn him left, turn him sideways, stand him on one leg, make him hop, spin him around. Does he got a full tail? All right, man, I'm asking my wife. I'll talk to you later. You're like, motherfucker. Like, you over there. Like, absolutely right. It's an ongoing joke when a motherfucker say you got to ask his wife. We already know it's a rap, bro.
Oh, yeah, we know it's a rap.
That's what he's a nice guy that don't want to tell you he ain't interested. All right, he just go, hey, you know what? Let me talk to my wife, bro, and we'll see if it's good. You know.
Did you see that meme? Did you see that meme that's going around, and they got the wife holding the husband in the diaper, and it says, when somebody said they got to ask their wife, the husband is on her hip with a
Hey,
diaper
you
and a
already know when
pacifier
they
in
say
his
that
mouth.
shit, it's a wrap. They're just being nice, man. They just being nice. They don't want to just be like, fuck your dog. Because some people be like, nah, bro, he ain't cool, you know. but
Right.
but some people are super nice, so they're just like, they just put it on their girl. No, let me talk to my wife, man. I'll get back to
Yeah,
you.
no, that's one thing I noticed in the dog game. When you do find a buyer, they pull the trigger with no hesitation.
Yeah,
Yeah, they pull the
that's for
trigger with
sure.
no hesitation, man.
When
So,
they know what they
but yeah,
want, you
man.
see that, and you might not see it till later, man. But you know, it definitely is definitely money out here to be made. You know, everybody thought it was going to slow down when everything fell apart. You know, when the fucking pandemic ended and all that free money came around. But look, man, there's bigger shows than there's ever been. There's more top studs out there than there's ever been. There's 20 studs out there you could use right now and hit. Back when we were first going, there was like 4 or 5. There wasn't even that many. You know, it was
Right.
Miyagi and Bolo and Bolsachi and Hayes and Bape, and you know, maybe a couple other ones thrown in, Bitcoin and some other ones that you know that everybody was using. And nowadays, you know, there's dogs I ain't even heard of that are super nice, man. That's why I got only 3,000 people I follow, and I followed by like 40 something thousand. I started following a lot more because I've noticed that there's shit out there I want to see. You know, there's dogs
Right.
out there that I want to see too, because I'm at a point now where I just need a nice looking dog because I have the bloodline already that people are after. You know, when you're first starting out, it's tough to go get a backyard dog that ain't tight, that nobody knows, off of just a regular
Right.
breeding that's dope and win. You know, I would advise people to use the bigger dogs because you're getting publicity. You're buying onto the work that they put in. Look at all the shit I just said that I went through over, you know, 6 or 7 years. So you're buying onto that. You're buying onto a person that really hustled and struggled and went to shows and built themselves up to a certain point. And that's kind of like a catalyst, you know, like you might be doing great, but like if something can shoot you even better, you know, then why not, you know, use everybody else as you know, stepping stone or whatever to get you to the top, you know, because we're all around for that. And some people take it as
Right.
there's so much money, man. Just like I said, George's been over there successful without any of us fucking talking to him. You know, we don't even know who the hell he sells dogs to, but he still sells the shit out of them, and they're always gone. You know, and it's the same like
Right.
you know, Golden Line and Bully Camp Line and Interstate Bullies. Every one of these dudes has a 250,000 followers. You know what I mean? And we sit here listening to the same 300 to 500 people on the lives, and we think we see the same, you know, 5,000 people at a show, if it's a big show, or a few hundred people. We ain't even touching the people that are at the house watching, man. The people that don't go to shows or that live in the middle of nowhere. There are millions of people out there buying and selling dogs every day, supporting all this stuff that goes around us. And so you can really hit, man. You can really hit if you have a good vision, you stick to your vision, and you stay in touch with what's hot. You know, you can't lose track of what the people like and what the people are looking for. You got to stay relevant with that as well. That way you're supplying some good shit.
Right.
You know, Kobe just
Yeah.
stands on, you know, he's in his own lane. And I see big dogs that make $1 million. I see standards and pockets champ out. Look at China Boy. Now, you know, he's a
Right.
bigger dog. And, you know, Eddie eats off that boy. He's done great with him and the promotion that he's done. And, you know, Kobe's just in a little bit different lane. You know, I feel like they got to bring these nanos out because the nanos are, they're their own category. And two
Right.
years ago, Kobe was like one of the only ones. Now they're everywhere. That you go to shows
Right.
and you see tons of them. And so you can't just say that 8 inches, which is about the nicest dog I've seen that's healthy, is about 7 or 8 inches. You know, I ain't really seen a great 7 incher, but I've seen some dope 8 inchers. So if 8 to 13 can't be the standard, you know what I mean? It has to be, you know, they have to narrow it down a little bit where it's, you know, 8 to 10 or 10 and under, and then 10 to 13, because 13 to 17 changes, and then
Right.
17 to, you know, 21 changes. So how the hell is it just 7, you know, everything under 13 for a male and everything under 12 for a female? I don't think that that's fair with the way that the game has evolved. I think that they have to
Right.
get a nano category, which is why I'm happy to see the Nano Award with James Cosby at the Wow Factor. I'm happy to see the Kobe Blood Award at the Jungle. I'm happy to see the Kobe Blood Award at Bully Experience with Rashawn Epps. You know, he did the category as well. You know, just now at Vegas at the Winter Bully Show they had out there in Vegas, they had a Kobe category. So it's just good to see the Nanos get the recognition and you know, be one of the ambassadors that's pushing the littler healthy dogs. along, and just creating another wave. Just creating
Yeah,
another wave.
definitely. Well, Brad, man, I appreciate you coming on, man, today, man. I really do, man. For the
Well,
people out there that don't know how to get in contact with you or don't know where you at on social media, can you give out your social media tag for us?
Yes, sir. I'm Brad Hackle on Facebook. It's Hakala, and I'm Gold Country Bullycamp 530 on Instagram. I'm out of Sacramento, California. Even if you want to get on TikTok, it's Kobe the Nano Bully on the TikTok, and just tap in, man. Kobe's at 3,500, 1,000 a locking man. I include shipping on any repeats. You got to pay your own shipping on the repeats, but super easy to get a hold of, super easy to deal with. I got Southwest Cargo account. I can ship same day most places in the country. Um, so tap in, man, and let's make some great money and some great bullies, man. Happy, healthy little bullies, man. Life changers coming out of Gold Country Bully Camp, man. They
Right.
worldwide right now,
Facts. Facts.
and they
Yeah.
everywhere. I hope to see everybody
Yep.
at the show. Come up and say hi. Come up with your
Yeah.
dogs, man. Come up to the booth and come stack your dog. You're welcome to stack any dog up with me. And I'm super personable. I'm super easy, man. So come pop up and let's have some fun.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you once again.